Hello, welcome to the Vancouver Livecam, your on-top view spot. Are you planning on taking a cruise out of Vancouver? In this video, we're going to offer 10 tips from a local's perspective on how to get the most from the Vancouver portion of your cruise experience. I was born in Vancouver, I raised my family here, and I've even been on a few cruises myself. From when to arrive, where to stay, what to do, and how to plan your travel. I'll share some tips you may find helpful, and at the end of the video, make a recommendation as to what I would do if I were planning a cruise visit here. Vancouver is a top-rated home port for the Alaska cruise season, and for good reason. We've got an easy-to-access cruise terminal that directly connects to our airport through the Canada Line subway. We've got spectacular scenery with mostly comfortable weather, unparalleled scenic sailaways, great people, great food, and plenty to do and see before and after your cruise vacation. And that leads to our first tip. Arrive well ahead of the start of your cruise, ideally the day beforehand as a minimum. And here's the reason why. While our modern bright airport provides a great experience for travelers, it isn't the biggest in the world and has limited direct flights from the cities that you might be arriving from. In fact, in many cases, there's only 1 or 2 direct flights per day from the world's top cities, or even from the eastern USA. I had lunch once with a professional public speaker, and he gave me some great advice for arriving at an important event. Give yourself 3 opportunities to recover from a missed connection or a canceled flight. It's a great form of insurance, and really can reduce the risk and stress and worry of making your cruise on time. So in case there is a problem with your flight, there are plenty of alternative ways to get to Vancouver. For example, if you're coming from the eastern US, there are frequent flights to Vancouver from other hubs like Toronto and Seattle. So if you have alternative options to catch the next flight to one of those destinations, the chances are you'll also find a connecting flight to Vancouver to get you here well on time. So that's tip number 1. Reduce the risk and worry of missing your cruise by arriving at least the day before. For tip number 2, let's talk about accommodation in Vancouver, likely the toughest part of your planning. Many downtown hotels are ideally located to the cruise terminal, but here's the thing. There is a chronic shortage of hotel rooms in Vancouver and will be for years to come. And that means high prices, especially during cruise season. If you're on a bucket list trip and you want the best, the Pan Pacific, Fairmont Waterfront, and Fairmont Pacific Rim are all on or next to the terminal and are awesome places to stay. But be prepared to spend hundreds per night. However, there are many other options other than downtown hotels. Vancouver has thousands of accommodation by owner listings like Airbnb or VRBO that can save you hundreds per night and put you in neighborhoods with the locals. There are also many more reasonably priced hotel options on our very accessible rapid transit system. And the cruise terminal is right at the main hub of all lines. In fact, there are a few hotels right on the line like the River Rock Casino Resort that has its own station. And it's a very reliable service with every few minutes going from the hotel to the cruise terminal. And that's tip number 2. Consider booking accommodation outside of the downtown core. This leads to our third tip from a local's perspective. Have confidence in Vancouver's transportation system. Buses, car shares, taxis, private limos, rental cars are all in pretty healthy supply. And yes, we do have traffic here, but it's rarely gridlocked, and you'll likely be traveling to and from the cruise terminal in off-peak hours. So even if there is a problem, there'll be many options to get around it. For example, in North Vancouver where I live, there are several buses that run regular service through the North Shore and will take you all the way downtown within a few blocks of the cruise terminal without having to transfer. That opens up plenty of accommodation by owner options that will have you at the cruise terminal in under an hour, whether by taxi, bus, or rideshare. Our fourth tip is to make time to plan an activity to explore Vancouver. You probably heard about the great options convenient to downtown like the Capilano Suspension Bridge or Grouse Mountain, and both offer free shuttles from across the cruise terminal. There's hop-on, hop-off buses, and many other tour companies will show you around. And of course, the crown jewel of Vancouver, Stanley Park, is only a 5-minute ride or a half-hour walk from the cruise terminal itself. If you're just in for the day before or after, these excursions are all very popular and take the guesswork out of getting there. And don't discount public transit. The Sea Bus is right beside the cruise terminal and is part of the transit system. It's also great for cruise spotting. A single ticket on transit gives you 90 minutes of unlimited riding in either direction, and a day pass offers access to the entire system. Our fifth tip is for those saving their money for their cruise. What is there that's free to do in Vancouver? For example, there is a suspension bridge a few miles away from Capilano called the Lynn Valley Suspension Bridge. It's a park with no admission fee and offers a more serene experience with lots of trails and boardwalks, but does lack the amenities and comforts of Capilano. It's best to visit by car, and parking is very limited on busy days, so we do recommend you get there early. And at Grouse Mountain, if you have a high level of fitness, you can walk up the famous Grouse Grind or the windier BCMC Trail and experience many of the summer mountaintop activities for free. There's a small download fee to return back, or you can simply walk down one of the trails. Now, these trails aren't scrambly, but they are very challenging on your cardio. So unless you're like these two retired Hockey Hall of Fame players, you guys can still play. Take lots of water, an extra change of shirt, good footwear, and a good attitude. As we mentioned earlier, Stanley Park is Vancouver's top attraction. It's absolutely free, and it's walking distance from downtown or quickly accessible by transit. The scenery around the famous seawall is second to none, and you can walk around it or even spend a little on a bike rental to see it all quickly. It's even a great place for cruise spotting if you're there around 6:30 a.m. in the mornings and between 4 to 5 p.m. in the afternoons. There are numerous walking and bike riding trails, attractions for families like the Vancouver Aquarium, and just don't let your daughter fall into this pool like I did when she was 3. And a few places to grab a coffee or a bite to eat. Stanley Park is a great option if you're staying in downtown Vancouver, no matter when you arrive. So make an afternoon or early evening of it, or take a picnic lunch and have a day of it. In fact, throughout Vancouver, there are numerous parks and beaches that are open to the public and offer great scenery or walking. Spanish Banks out by UBC is one of our favorites, and I recommend this and any other parks and beaches, especially for a car rental, because parking is typically plentiful on all but the busiest of weekend afternoons. Our next tip is for those who are on a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Vancouver, have a few extra days, and see the value in spending a little extra money to make your visit here truly special. And that is to consider a short trip outside of Vancouver to visit Whistler or Vancouver Island, a couple of my favorite places here in BC. Whistler is known for outdoor activities, great restaurants, and warm hospitality. You don't have to be an extreme athlete to enjoy the gondola trip up to the High Alpine for spectacular views and long walks. There's the village for shopping, and there's the Valley Trail on a rental bike to explore the entire valley. You can actually get there by float plane beside the cruise terminal, or you could rent a car, or there is a bus that will take you the 2-hour drive north of Vancouver, starting with the iconic Lionsgate Bridge. And during the cruise season, hotel rates are often far less than in the winter or even in Vancouver. Tofino is on the west coast of Vancouver Island and is renowned for its raw natural beauty, wildlife viewing, and miles of beautiful long beaches that are never crowded. It's an hour to get there by seaplane, also beside the cruise terminal, and it lands within whale watching and other excursions. Now, to get the most out of it, consider a rental car and stay a couple of nights to enjoy everything Tofino has to offer. Now let's talk about your actual cruise. Our next tip is that on busy cruise days, give yourself extra time to arrive at the cruise terminal and book a taxi or rideshare in advance. Weekends can see 3 or even 4 cruise ships in at once, and that does put pressure on taxis and other ways of getting to the terminal. However, transit is never a problem in the middle of the day. On this particular day, I visited the terminal when there was only one ship in, the Grand Princess, and taxis were lined up around the block for departing passengers. But on the weekends or occasional weekday with 2 or more ships, be careful not to assume that there will be taxis waiting to take your call. Our next tip is for your actual departure on the cruise ship. Go to the top deck during sail away in Vancouver Harbor. a spectacular place to be on a cruise ship, and the experience of going under Lionsgate Bridge is extraordinary. It's a great gateway to Holidayland. And the scenery doesn't stop there as the ship makes its way past beautiful West Vancouver, Bowen Island and the Sunshine Coast, and up through the lower inside passage between Vancouver Island and the mainland. Now, if your cruise heads south out of Vancouver, it'll also pass through some spectacular island scenery, and it's worth keeping a lookout as you enjoy your first dinner on board. Our next tip is for after your cruise is over and it's time to return home. It's always a good idea to give yourself extra time to reduce any anxiety about missing a flight, and the day after your cruise arrives is a safe bet, especially if you're on a repositioning cruise. However, we've also observed that over time, the vast majority of cruise ships arrive right on time in Vancouver around 7 a.m. So it's also a reasonably safe bet to book your return flight anytime after noon, which will allow plenty of time for cruise terminal customs, luggage pickup, transfer to the airport, which takes about 30 minutes, and of course arrival for your flight at the airport 2 to 3 hours ahead of the scheduled departure. If there is a long taxi lineup and you are pressed for time, walk over to the Canada Line waterfront station if you can handle your own luggage, where there's frequent service and you'll be at the airport within about a half hour of boarding. And our final tip, if you have any questions, need any direction, or are seeking advice on restaurants or anything else, ask a local. Hotels, accommodations by owner, or wherever you may be staying, we are friendly here. We welcome tourists with open arms. We are Canadian after all. So that's our top 10 list for enhancing your stay and cruise here in Vancouver. Now, if I were in your shoes, here's what I'd do. I'd arrive a few days before my cruise, rent a car, and I'd actually head straight to Whistler for good hotel prices, great food, and spectacular scenery. Then the day before my cruise, I'll go back to Vancouver, I'd check into a nice hotel downtown for a night, and see the things that interest me the most. The morning of my cruise, I'll be way too excited to sleep in, so I'll walk over to Stanley Park, see how far I can get, and return to check out of my hotel so I can be on the cruise ship for lunch. So I hope you found this video helpful, and if you enjoyed this content and enjoy cruising and cruise spotting, please like, subscribe, share, and tune into our 24/7 live stream at any time to check out Vancouver. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you here.